Well, son, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Well, son, it's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. No carpet on the floor bare. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up. I've been climbing on and places had no carpet on the climbing on where there ain't been no landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark, where there ain't been no light.
Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had taps in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no covering of and Richard
Welcome to Celebrating Our Voices, the New York Choral Society's celebration of music, collaboration, and friendship. I'm Pat Owens, Executive Director of the New York Choral Society. We are really delighted that you could join us tonight and support our chorus. Thank you. We have a wonderful evening in store for you. Great performances by some of our favorite soloists, the premiere of our latest choral production, Invitation to Love, and a few words from some friends of our chorus. And while you're enjoying our program, don't forget about our fantastic silent auction. Bid on vacations. Who isn't looking forward to traveling again? Golf outings, dinners, and more. We will be updating you on your bids during the program. The past 14 months have been challenging for us all, and especially so for our chorus. Not being able to rehearse or perform is so unchoral, but despite the many challenges we have faced, we have innovated to create what we like to call reimagined performances of choral music. And it would not have been possible without the creativity and commitment of the many composers, soloists, choreographers, dancers, vocal soloists, artists, audio and visual engineers, and cameramen. And of course, our singers and volunteers. And here is our music director, David Hayes.
Thanks, Pat. Reimagine is actually a great word. I would also add discovery, collaboration, inclusion, and hope. My work with all of these wonderful artists and technicians has really been inspiring. We have created truly unforgettable performances of a cappella choral music by a wide range of composers this season. And I am very grateful for the visionary work of our many artistic partners throughout this process, and of course, for the hard work of all of our singers. I am so grateful for the support of all of you here tonight that have made it possible for us to share the joy and power of choral music even amidst extraordinary challenges. So thank you. And now, I would like to introduce our first performer, my friend, the wonderful bass baritone, Brandon Siddell, singing Aaron Copland's arrangement of At the River.
The shining river, soon our pilgrimage will cease, soon our happy hearts will quiver with the melody of peace. Yes, we'll gather by the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints by the river that flows by the throne of God. That flows by the throne of God.
Thank you, Brandon. Brandon performed with us in 2016 for Handel's Israel in Egypt, and oh my, what a performance he gave. It is really wonderful that he could join us this evening, and we look forward to hearing more of Brandon again soon. And now, I'm very excited to present Invitation to Love, the final production of our season. Our chorus performs Invitation to Love, a fabulous a cappella work by my dear friend Jennifer Higdon, in collaboration with artist Gordon Hall. Last week, Pat and I chatted with Jennifer and Gordon about the creation of this production. So before we share the production with you, we'd like to share a little bit of our conversation with Jennifer and Gordon before we screen Invitation to Love.
Welcome, everyone. I'd like to introduce our composer and artist for Invitation to Love. Jennifer Higdon is one of the most acclaimed and frequently performed composers working today. She has received the Pulitzer Prize, 3 Grammy Awards, Guggenheim and Pew Fellowships, and 2 awards from the American Academy of Arts and Letters. Her first opera, Cold Mountain, won an International Opera Award for Best World Premiere, and her works are recorded on more than 65 CDs. Gordon Hall is a sculptor, performance maker, and writer based in New York. Hall has presented solo exhibitions at the Renaissance Society, MIT List Visual Arts Center, the Portland Institute for Contemporary Art, and this year at Hess Flatow Gallery in New York. Hall's sculptures and performances have been exhibited at the Museum of Contemporary Art Chicago, the Brooklyn Museum, the Whitney Museum of American Art, Socrates Sculpture Park, the Drawing Center, and David's Werner Gallery. Welcome, Jennifer Higdon and Gordon Hall. Thank you for your creativity and in allowing us to bring Invitation to Love to our audiences in a totally new way.
Welcome, Jennifer. Welcome, Gordon. It's great to see you. And I'm going to just sort of start off with asking Jennifer a question about sort of the genesis of this piece. It's a relatively recent work, 2016, so it's fairly recent. And I actually remember being at the world premiere of it in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was actually a commission from Chorus America to honor Ann Meyer Baker, who was moving on to run the NEA. Mm-hmm. And so I think Chorus America wanted to honor her, and they said, "Would you write a piece?" I said, "Of course I will." And I went to her and said, "Is there a poem you like? I can set a poem you like." So she actually selected the poem, and I thought it was kind of appropriate because it is an invitation to love.
I think that the poem itself is such a, well, the poet is so interesting. I mean, Paul Laurence Dunbar is just such an interesting poet, and sort of was straddling at the time he was writing 2 worlds as sort of one of the first very significant African American poets. But he, interestingly, as I was doing more research, he wrote in kind of a dialectic style poetry, and then in what would be considered just I don't even want to characterize it, but a non-dialectic style, and was trying to sort of straddle and marry those 2 worlds together, and that was something very unique at the period.
And when you're dealing with a poem, you're also responsible for, it's like an opera, you're responsible for the libretto and the characters you're supposed to be taking care of and kind of holding to present to the world. It's just on an audio scale more than a visual scale. So it's a fascinating project, but it's also wonderful for me to come back and look at it anew and go, oh yeah, I remember when I was thinking about this or thinking about that. And what I mostly remember, the writing of it was fun. That doesn't happen very often. Usually it's more of a struggle. It was a very natural write. And I remember more about the premiere just because it was such a big event with so many choral people.
Gordon, I wanted to sort of ask you a little bit about how you were thinking about and approaching this piece, and the idea of sort of the rhyming, of the seeming austerity of the minimalism of the piece, and how you sort of layered your sort of the emotional longing and all of this. Maybe you could describe a little bit how you approached the responding to the music within the way that you practiced your art.
For me, doing this video piece was really a chance to think about how can I think sculpturally about the space of the computer screen. So, and part of why I was interested in that is because, the themes of desire and longing that are in the poem both, it could be interpreted as longing for a person, like a lover, but also, and given the historical context of when it was written, I think it could also be interpreted as a kind of a longing for a new world or another world. And both of those ways of thinking about desire have been, I think, so present in our lives over the last year. I mean, in personal ways for lots of people in terms of, the longing for human connection and the loneliness of being isolated. But I think also, politically and socially, I think there's a very deeply felt sense that that there's another world that needs to exist and that we don't want to go back to how it was before the pandemic. And so the way I approached the piece was I was thinking about, normally I think about objects in space and especially about the relationship between objects in space. And in this, so I tried to translate that to the desktop in terms of the relationships between the windows of the desktop. So I was really choreographing the relationship between the various moving images and, the bodies are all my body, but yeah, over the last 5 or 6 years, and they're a lot of the footage that goes into making my work.
It's been this kind of very weird thing where suddenly we're looking into people's private spaces that now suddenly, we're intimately acquainted with.
So we've actually gone from invitation to love to invitation to our space. But, the beauty of actually all the Zooming is we've all seen that we're all a lot alike. I mean, we all have we have cats interrupting, I'm surprised one of mine hasn't come racing through here because normally one of the cats makes an appearance.
Yeah,
but
mine just went there.
Yeah. This is the fascinating thing, I think, is it's an invitation into sharing, which is what I always think of music.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on one other thing with you, Gordon, because I remember reading a little bit, I think, in some of our written discussions back and forth. I'm kind of curious if you can talk about how you were thinking in terms of all of the interactions you were considering, but also creating space for people to receive the poem and the music.
Absolutely. I was thinking a lot about that. I don't know, maybe other people don't relate to this, but for me, I'm constantly feeling like there's too much to look at or hear or see, like there's just too much to perceive in a moment. And when that happens, to me, that's the source of boredom. It's not that there isn't enough going on. It's actually that there's too much going on. And so I can't, focus on anything. And so, in my sculptural work, I think about this a lot, like how much is the right amount of work? How do I deal with colors so that you actually pay attention to the subtle changes between different colors? Yeah, and with this, I wanted there to be, various different things to look at, but for them to move along in a very kind of slow or subtle way so that your eye could kind of casually move around and feel peaceful with seeing one part and maybe missing something else and coming back to it as a space to listen. Because I really feel, like the music, the performance and the composition, that's really the center of this project. And my job in making the video was to give people really a space to listen in.
So I'm wondering how or if any of this, and maybe Jennifer, sort of, you could talk to it from the perspective of originally creating the work, and then Gordon perhaps talking from how you were approaching this. But how did any of this idea become an expression of you in terms of a visible passage or an audible passage from your own personal diary? Do you see where I'm going with this?
I do totally. I think because I'm fortunate enough to have commissions where I just work constantly. It's been that way for decades.
Yeah,
and
long
so
time.
I feel like every piece is a continuum, first of all, of exploring different aspects of myself, but also thinking about what I'm going to share with people. Because I realize that everything I write has to go through performers. So it can't exist without going through the performer. So part of my job is also figuring out a way to communicate to the people who actually are going to sing or play, whether it's one person or 300. I mean, I think, David, you prepared my piece, The Singing Rooms, which this choir has done. That's a massive piece. It's a big choir. It's a big orchestra. It's a violin soloist. So for me, every moment of composing, every day when I come into my studio, is to grow as an artist. But I'm amazed at even how my composing has changed during the pandemic. I've done 2 concertos and 6 chamber works. Every single one of them feels like I'm trying to give a sonic hug to everyone. Like I'm trying to reach beyond the screen. I'm trying to make music in a way that will move people as much as I possibly can.
How about you, Gordon? Let's explore the same idea with you.
I made a lot of different drafts, and then I just more and more I felt like no, everything in here has to be from, I guess, what you could describe almost as the kind of visual equivalent of a diary for me. Like, this is where I store everything that goes into making my work, both the videos of my actual body, but also, you're seeing the papers on the wall of my studio move around. You're seeing me like video a sculpture in Paris. You're seeing me holding a piece of paper, right? So it's all actually coming from, sort of the intimate parts of an art practice that don't always get seen in the end, but they are the records that I keep of how I make work, which even when it doesn't feel personal on the outside, it obviously comes from a very, private, personal, valuable place for me.
It seems like this period of containment has also been liberating in terms of making work. I wonder if maybe each of you could just comment on that, because, I mean, Gordon, obviously, both of you, thrive in the public space in terms of your work, and it will still be in the public space, but this period has been a period of real containment and I guess reflection. I don't know.
It's kind of fascinating to have the quiet space and time where I'm not on a plane. I'm not going somewhere. I'm not standing in front of an audience. I'm not doing university activities or sitting in a recording booth. To have the same space every day where I could sleep in the same bed and my body could rest, it kind of helped.
I concur. I mean, I just got back yesterday from my first, it's not even post-pandemic, but, first pandemic tail work trip. And, it's great to have new experiences. It's great to meet new people. It's amazing to travel, but also I feel a little sad about the kind of focus and quiet and clarity I had during this time. I mean, I didn't really know how much of my energy I was putting into circulating in the world and all of the work that goes into presenting my work. Until I didn't really have to do those things. So I don't think I would want to be without them forever, because like we were saying, even for people who have very solitary artistic practices, we need the audience, we need collaborators. Art isn't something you do alone, even when you're doing it alone.
Good description.
Well, I thank you both for your time. It's really been great to have this conversation with you. And we certainly are grateful for all the work that you have put into this, and everything that we can watch for and listen for in future from both of you. It's a real joy to get to talk to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you
so much. Thank you to the choir too. Thank you for all that you all do, and for the singers. It's we can't do it without you.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Jennifer. It's been a real treat, and as I say with all these Zooms, we look forward to seeing you in person soon.
We're with you.
Okay. Great. All right. Thanks very much.
Hello, I'm David Hayes, Music Director of the New York Choral Society. I'm delighted to present Invitation to Love, the 5th and final production of Our Voices, a season of reimagined collaborative performances of choral music. Invitation to Love was composed in 2016 for a cappella chorus by my friend, Pulitzer Prize and Grammy Award-winning composer Jennifer Higdon. This evocative choral work is based on a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar, the first African-American poet to gain national recognition in the United States. His poem, a meditation on love and longing, welcomes his love to, quote, come to my heart and bring it rest. Invitation to Love features the work of Gordon Hall, a sculptor, performance maker, and writer who invites us to consider the intimate space of their computer screen as a site of desire and connection, as we long for a relief from alienation that is just as needed in easy times as it is in hard times, and to find the beauty in this longing in what becomes a choreography taking place between windows. And now, Invitation to Love.
Summer gleams and glows. Come with the winter's drifting snow. And you are welcome, you are welcome, you are sweet, the love, dear love. As the nesting dove, come to my heart and bring it to rest.
Thank you, Jennifer Higdon, Gordon Hall, and to our singers for that wonderful production. I see our silent auction is getting a lot of bids. Our auction closes in just a few hours. So if you want that vacation in Santorini, Bermuda, or Brittany, now is the time to bid. And now I would like to introduce you to one of our singers, Logan Pitts, a member of our bass section who sang in this production.
Thanks, Pat. It was such a great experience singing with the chorus this year. On behalf of all of us in the chorus, I'd like to thank our executive producers, performer sponsors, gala friends, and ticket holders who made tonight possible. And Pat, we have a few more donors tonight. Thank you Celie and Tim Gillis, and Judy Bigelow and Carl Ellison. And here again is Brandon Siddell.
Hi, thank you so much to the New York Choral Society and David Hayes for inviting me to sing for you all tonight. It was such a pleasure to make music, and I was reminded tonight, I got to hear Gabby record her song right before I got to sing, and hearing live music again was something that I actually wasn't quite prepared for. I was reminded of the power of music, and I am so excited for you all to be able to hear music again live, and we're getting closer and closer to that point, so I can't wait for that. Tonight would not have been possible if it wasn't for the support from our executive producer, Gary Pye, our producers, Darren Arita, Mike Roos, and Joanne and John Lawson, Paul Burkhardt, and Carl Koivunimi. Thank you so much.
3, 2.
Thanks, Brandon. I would also like to thank our underwriter and series sponsor, Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett, and a few more of our gala supporters as well, Melinda and Dennis Kelly, Mario Bonsignori and Phil Gautreau, Edith and Robert Dupay, and Britt and Peter Kelly. Thank you all. This season we have learned how important making music is to all of us. Singing remotely into our phones, however challenging it may be, has brought singers together to create some wonderful virtual choirs. One example is a project created by our friends at the Angel Band Project. And here's our friend Rachel Ebeling to share us something more about it.
Hello, I'm Rachel Ebeling, Executive Director of the Angel Band Project. We support survivors of sexual assault and intimate partner violence through innovative music therapy workshops in New York City. This past year, we have not been able to gather together to make music that is so central to our lives and to our mission. And we have learned that making music and providing music therapy services to our clients is more important than ever. To inspire and lift up our communities during the pandemic, we have found new ways to create and share music experiences. Last fall, we released our second virtual choir initiative with singers, activists, survivors, and advocates coming together to sing the song, Stand By You. We are so grateful that singers of the New York Choral Society joined us to create this important project, which shows solidarity to all survivors, that we stand with them, even when being together to make music hasn't been possible. Thank you to the New York Choral Society for continuing to collaborate and support the Angel Band Project.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand by you.
4, 3, 2.
Thank you, Rachel and the Angel Band Project. We are so grateful to be able to offer our voices in music to your powerful message of resilience and hope. Before we hear from our next performer, there is still time to bid in our silent auction or donate to our chorus by texting Our Voices, all one word, to 76278. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our next performer, the acclaimed countertenor who wowed audiences in the Metropolitan Opera's production of Akhenaten, my friend Anthony Roth Costanzo, singing Franz Liszt's Über allen Gipfeln ist Ruhe, which some of you may also know as the Wanderer's Night Song.
2, 1.
Wow, wasn't that fantastic? Thank you, Anthony, for that amazing performance. Anthony is everywhere in New York, from the stage of the Metropolitan Opera to neighborhoods all over New York with the New York Philharmonic Bandwagon. And Anthony would like to share a few more words.
Hi, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here with you. I wish we could be in the same room, in the same space, hopefully soon, but I'm joining you here from my apartment in New York and remembering all the amazing times we have been in the same room, communicating. Of course, this year of the pandemic has been so hard because we haven't been able to make music together, but it has reminded me just how important making music is, how it gives life meaning. And of course, we found these new, creative, inventive ways to make music together. And there's actually a lot to be gained from that, and a lot I know I've learned and benefited from. So I'm excited that we get to do a little bit more of it tonight. I'm really excited about this piece too, which exemplifies a lot of what I feel. It's a kind of optimism, but calm optimism. It's a song by Liszt with a poem by Goethe in which he says, "Everything is peace. There's not even a breeze that rustles the trees. Soon, you too will have peace." And I hope that that is true. I'm thrilled that the pianist Brian Wagorn joined me. And I want to thank you all for your support. Of course, tonight wouldn't be possible without the support of executive producer David Munkittrick and producers Ruth Ferguson and Corey Kinger, and of course, Colette Ryder. So thank you all so much. Thank you for supporting this. And I hope that we can gather together soon. But until then, some music over the internet. Thanks.
2. Thank you, Anthony. Tonight, I would also like to thank our silent auction co-chairs, Melinda Kelly and Ann Lee, who did an amazing job putting this auction together. Thank you so much. We are so grateful to Melinda, Ann, and all of our trustees who provide our chorus with exemplary leadership and support. Thank you so much. It is now my pleasure to introduce the chairman of our Board of Trustees, Michael Colosi.
Hi, I'm Michael Colosi, Chair of the Board of Trustees of the New York Choral Society. On behalf of all of us at the New York Choral Society, thank you for joining us for this very special celebration of music and friendship. And thank you to all of our wonderful performers. Although we have not been able to gather to rehearse, to perform, or just to see each other, our chorus has found so many innovative ways to share our voices in music, and we couldn't have done it without your support. I would like to recognize and thank 3 of our singers who volunteered their time and efforts to make this season a great success for us. Our season director, Roseanne Zaccoli, thank you. Producer, Steve Heller, and Oliver Henderson, a tech coach for many of our singers, thank you for all you do. We are so proud of the wonderful performances of choral music, these little art films that we've produced this season in collaboration with an outstanding group of composers, choreographers, and artists. And we are so grateful for the opportunities to perform with others to offer messages of hope and resilience with our voices raised in song, including this performance of Amazing Grace in a virtual global choir with the one and only Judy Collins. Thank you, Judy.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have
Hi, everyone. It's Judy Collins, and it's wonderful to be able to celebrate your voices at the New York Choral Society. Over the past 12 months, you've shown such creativity and great resilience, and that needs to be recognized. Using music to get us through the times that are tough. We are experiencing today that kind of toughness, and music is essential. Keep up the hard work and keep on creating.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Judy, for those kind words and for inviting our singers to be part of this truly inspirational performance. And now, for the final performance of the evening, my friend, the wonderful soprano, Gabriela Reyes. Many of you will remember Gabriela's stirring voice in our performance of Sir Michael Tippett's A Child of Our Time at Carnegie Hall in 2018. We are thrilled to have her with us tonight. Gabriela has chosen Henri Duparc's evocative Fidèle. But before that, Gabriela would like to share a few words with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. It's been such a pleasure making music with everyone. Music has been so important to me throughout the years, and this year is no different. Really, this pandemic has shown me that I've had to cling to music, to art, to really express myself through these tough times, and I'm sure so many of us can relate to that. So thank you, New York Choral Society, for allowing me to join in on this special evening. Also, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity so that I can be a voice for Black and Brown children and young artists and people to be able to follow their dreams, to be able to know that they also have a place in whatever they want to follow. So thank you so much for that. Tonight could not have been possible without executive producer Michael Colosi, with producers Joanna and Carlo Grossman, with Marion and Ronald Stein, Betty Rice, the Plunkett Group, Steve Weitzman, and John Niepler. Thank you so much, and so much love to you all.
2.
Wow, thank you, Gabriela, so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Gabriela Reyes singing Fidèle.
Thank you.
Wasn't that just wonderful? Thank you, Gabriella, so very much. Please join me in a virtual round of applause for all of our soloists, Gabriella, Anthony, Brandon, and especially our accompanist, Brian Wagorn. Just fantastic, all of you. It is a real treat to work with these wonderful artists. Thank you all for being part of our celebration.
And that wraps up tonight's celebration. Thanks to all of you for joining us tonight and supporting our chorus. It was a real pleasure to bring some wonderful music into your homes. And speaking of support, it's not too late to bid or donate.
Thanks, Pat. It was a real treat for me to bring all of us together for this special evening of music and friendship. Thanks to all of you for joining us tonight and really making this an amazing celebration. Good night, and thank you all.
Good night.